Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today we're going to be playing a traditional draft of the Brothers' War. Without further ado, let's just get into it. Unfortunately, our pack 1 is tremendously weak. The rare is not really much of a build around. You need to find a lot of beasts and birds, and there's only like one or two. There's a common bird in blue, an uncommon beast in green. Not really enough to work with to make that first pickable. Our uncommons are all pretty weak as well, Spotterthopter and Dragon Engine being fine filler prototype cards that are okay at either parts on the curve, and none of our commons really being premium. The closest we get is like Stern Lesson, being decent card draw, Powerstone Fracture, being potentially decent removal, as with like Weakstone Subjugation, and Sprite's a fine mana sink, but none of these are really pack 1 pick 1 worthy. I'm going to be super happy with whatever I take here. Probably just roll with one of the weird prototype uncommons. I'll go with the Dragon Engine here, but not super happy about that as a pack 1 pick 1. Pack 1 pick 2, we have a lot more interesting options here. We've got Mightstone's Animation, which is great with some Power Stones or some little 1/1 soldiers. Blanchwood Prowler, which is very nice in the green decks, gives you a little bit of self-mill as well if you have any graveyard synergies. Scrap Trawler can be pretty solid in this format. There's just tons of good artifact creatures, and as they trade off, you can now start putting other ones from your grave into your hand. So that's interesting as well. There's also Unleashed Shell, which is fine removal, not exceptional or anything. And Ambush Paratrooper is fine in the white aggro decks, like the Soldiers decks. I think I'm just going to roll with Blanchwood Prowler here. Everything's pretty comparable. I do like the 2-for-1 nature of Blanchwood Prowler, where you get a nice little 1/1 to hold off your opponent's 3/1s and 1/1 soldiers and all that stuff. Get a trade off there, and also pick up a land to make sure you can make it to high mana costs. Something the green decks really want to do in this format. For pack 1 pick 3, we have a very solid uncommon of Gurgling Anointer. If we can get some cards that draw, all we have to do is draw one additional card during our turn and we will trigger the Anointer, so can be pretty good. Does require a good amount of building around. Another card that's kind of similar that can be really good but requires a bit of building around is the Sentinel Stalwart. But Stalwart is a little bit of a better follow-up to the Blanchwood Prowler, and it plays really, really well with all of the unearthing artifacts in the set, because you get to play them all, have them be main deckable creatures that you just cast the front half of, and then whenever you've got a Stalwart on board, you can go ahead and get that mana of any color to splash in any off-color unearth effects. So I actually do like Sentinel Stalwart decks a lot. They're pretty fun to play around with, and there's not anything incredible in this pack that's really competing with Stalwart outside of maybe Anointer, maybe Unleashed Shell. So we can take Stalwart without missing out on too much there. Pack 1 pick 4, we have Wing Commando being a very good blue common. Nice aggro flyer. Moment of Defiance and Gix's Crest being solid black spells. Airlift Chaplain's a fine white flyer, and Gnawing Vermin is a fine self-mill kind of synergy card that's also good again at blocking all the 1 toughness stuff in the format. Not super sure what I want here. There's no really obvious follow-up to a Sentinel Stalwart or anything like that. No great green card, the only one is Hoarding Recluse. Wing Commando's kind of my favorite card in the pack, but I don't really think like green-blue flyers is going to be a thing that's going to work super well for us. I don't think Wing Commando synergizes too much with Prowler and Stalwart at all. Take a solid black card here. I'll just go for like a Gnawing Vermin, I guess. Now we have a Gaia's Gift, which is super, super good, but we also have Scrapwork Mutt, which is one of the best of the unearthing cards in the set. It just gives you very good value with the ability to discard a card and draw a card. You can do that twice with this because you can unearth it later. And again, Sentinel Stalwart is really, really nice with these artifact unearthing cards, so I think I'm going to take Scrapwork Mutt here. It's going to fit into the deck no matter what happens. Gaia's Gift is still a very, very good combat trick I'd like to pick up some copies of later, but Scrapwork Mutt being an auto-include in pretty much every single deck in the format makes it a tremendously high pick. We've got a second copy of Blanchwood Prowler, which is pretty exciting, but with Sentinel Stalwart fixing our mana pretty well, Hero of the Dunes off of any kind of splash can be very, very powerful. Absolutely love this card. A 5 mana 3/2 that resurrects something with mana value 3 or less is already a really good deal. You're basically spending 5 mana for a 3/2 and a 2/2, usually at worst. And you're also giving pretty much your entire board +1/+0. So Here of the Dunes is just absolutely absurd, and I am in love with that card. So we're going to do what we can to maybe splash it in here. Now I can go ahead and scoop up the Gaia's Gift pretty easily, not passing up on too much. There's like a solid, really expensive creature. Nice little bird, nice little combat trick in black, but Gaia's Gift is just an exceptional one. So many good abilities on that card. We've got a Goring Warplow we can take now for green-black. This is just a flexible card. Not super exciting at either halves of the card, but the flexibility does make it quite nice, being able to play a Death Toucher for cheap or a solid beefy creature later in the game. Razor Maw's okay as well, but we don't have any self-mill synergies, and that's the only time I'd really run it. I guess we have the Hero of the Dunes. That's a little bit of a self-mill synergy. Not a super duper exciting one though, because it's really easy to just trade off a single creature with mana value 3 or less by the time you're playing a 5 mana card, so it's really not necessary for Hero. Very happy with Powerstone Fracture here. This works really well with like Blanchwood Prowler, just nice cheap little expendable creatures that give us some other kind of value. So it's good with Scrapwork Mud as well, great with Unearth cards, pretty good with Gnawing Vermin with its good death ability. Now we have not much. Firebomb is super expensive. Clay Revenant is also really slow and expensive to dirtle around with. Trenchstalker only works with good card draw. I guess we do have a Scrapwork Mutt already. This card is absurdly good if you can trigger it once or twice each game. A 4/5 Death Touch Lifelink for 5 is just a super dumb rate. I should go for Trenchstalker here alongside our Scrapwork Mutt. Well, best card is Unleash Shell, but I don't think it's getting played in here. Guess I'll just take Sibling Rivalry. So now I've got a few red cards for like a red-black sacrifice backup plan. Missing on a Carrion Locust here, but that card's not tremendously exciting. It's kind of okay to pass it up. Machine Over Matter pretty late there. That's quite a nice bounce spell in the format. Plenty of good artifact creatures, so it's just 1 mana to bounce a non-land permanent, because it only costs 1 mana if you control an artifact creature. Dragon Engine isn't looking super playable right now either. This is another 2-drop. These are not creatures. Wrong card. Grab a supply drop for the side. Yeah, things look very reasonable so far. We're only 1 pack in. We can find more Sentinel Stalwarts later to splash in more stuff, make the Hero of the Dunes easier to cast. Well, this is a pretty easy pick. This is the first time, I'm pretty sure the first time that I will get to try to play a Portal to Phyrexia. This is a 9 mana artifact, but when it enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices 3 creatures, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you put a creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control, and make it a Phyrexian in addition to its other types. So this card is completely absurd. It's going to be practically a one-sided board wipe and then take over the game, bringing the biggest creature from each grave back to your board every turn. This pack is excellent. There's also Scrapwork Cohort that I would love. Blackblade Reforged is huge. Junkyard Genius is a very good ability. Scrapwork Mud as well. Incredible pack here. I don't think we're going to wheel any of those, but any of them would be great wheels. Alright, now we have an Obstinate Baloth, a very nice, very sturdy card. Beefy creature that gives us a bunch of life gain as well to help us stay in the game, make it to our higher mana cards like Portal to Phyrexia, or just start jamming in with a 4 mana 4/4, getting aggressive. So Obstinate Baloth, incredible uncommon, going to be the pick here. If I could wheel an Energy Refractor, I'd be super happy. This would give us more mana fixing as well as another card we can use to tap with our Sentinel Stalwart, because this can tap an artifact or creature to get the mana of any color. Pack 2, pick 3 now. Another Blanchwood Prowler looking pretty sweet. Combat Courier, though, as well. Again, that splashed in Unearth could be good. Arbalest Engineers could be a decent splash. Very flexible card there. Mishra's Bauble fits into any deck. It's just basically you get to run a 39 card deck. You just immediately cycle it away, draw a card. Great with anything that cares about sacrificing or any artifact to enter the battlefield effects. Could be fine with Stalwart as well. if I don't have anything good to tap, I could just keep the bauble around for a while and wait to sack it later. That's kind of cool. Emergency Weld is pretty solid. I actually might take Emergency Weld here. There's really high, because usually I'd take like Bauble, Courier, Prowler first, but I've already got some self-mill in the deck, and having a way to potentially pick up Portal to Phyrexia from my graveyard if I accidentally self-mill it does feel incredibly tempting to me. Now we can go ahead and pick up an Obliterating Bolt to potentially splash in, because I don't think any of the green and black cards here are that great. But that is an excellent rate on a removal spell. Now we have Scrapwork Mutt, which I will take over Combat Courier. It's the main competition there. Scrapwork Rager is good as well, just a bit too expensive. I mean, not too expensive to play. It's a very good card. It's just too expensive to compete with the really cheap Scrapwork Mutt that's super easy to cast and super easy to unearth as well. Another Gaia's Gift here. It's pretty solid. Not much else going on. And Blast Runner if I move towards red-black. Howling Mine actually really good if you have a Sentinel Stalwart on board, because you can tap it down so that you're the only one drawing extra cards. That could be a fun little combo to try out here. Might as well. This is a traditional draft we're playing today, which means even if I lose every single game of Magic, we get to play 3 full rounds, so at least 6 games. So if I go 0-3 just doing fun stuff, at least we'll still be playing plenty of games of Magic. I like Disciples of Gix a lot with a lot of Unearth in the deck. Currently we have 2 Unearth cards, but we have a Hero of the Dunes as well. Forcer's also okay with a lot of self-mill, but I only have a tiny bit right now. I think I take Disciples of Gix. Another Powerstone Fracture seems beautiful. Unfortunately, no Sentinel Stalwarts in pack 2. We're really hoping for more of those to help our red splash get in here, help our white splash, and make it easier to make Howling Mine one-sided. I think if I had like 3 Sentinel Stalwarts, I'd be really, really happy with how the deck looks right now, but with just 1, things are looking pretty awkward. We're still green-black at the core, like our mana's not that bad, but it is hard to do our splashy stuff, and definitely hard to do the Howling Mine thing. Pretty much everything in this pack is basically unplayable. I guess Supply Drop's not completely, I just don't want to play it if I can avoid it. An Honor Guard, which I guess is fine. 2 mana, 3/1. Gixxian Infiltrator could be fine filler. We have a few ways to sacrifice things right now, so it could get a counter or 2. It's not going to be exciting, but we could just use some more just straight up on color playables. Just rare draft some uncommons to fill that vault progress a little faster. Rare draft again. We'll see what we open up here in pack 3. Hopefully something sweet. Kayla's Reconstruction is pretty sweet, but triple white is a little too difficult for us in this deck. I can splash in that little bit of white for like Hero of the Dunes, but getting 3 white symbols is pretty difficult. We do have a good amount of artifacts and creatures with mana value 3 or less though, so if it weren't for the mana cost, this would be a very possible playable, but I think the picks here are between Overwhelming Remorse for on-color exceptional removal, Elsewhere Flask for another way to help mana fix us into the off-colors, and that's about it. I mean, Explosion's really good and Stoneseeker's really good, but those would both be in the splash color and we'd be taking them over a card that helps us splash. I think I'm going to go Overwhelming Remorse, but Flask is really close. The red card's definitely tertiary there. Boulder Branch Golem is an exceptional pickup, as is Mask of the Jade Crafter. That's a hard pick. We're definitely not getting both of these. Blanchwood Prowler would also be good, giving us another expendable creature for our Powerstone Fracture. I think I have to just go for a Boulder Branch here, get a really nice late game stabilizer. We can play it on 4 as well, but Mask of the Jade Crafter is super tempting too. Really good value here. sack the first half of this at like 4 or 5 mana to get a 4/4, and then later in the game at some point just unearth and get another one when you have 7 or 8 mana. Super tempting, but I'm taking Boulder Branch here, I think. Just a premium card. Alright, I am going to go ahead and pick up an Energy Refractor now. This works well with our Powerstone Fractures and with our Sentinel Stalwart. And it can mana fix us for the white Hero of the Dunes, the red Obliterating Bolt, the red Scrapwork Mutt's reanimation ability. Helps us hit a lot of important stuff, so we'll take the Energy Refractor. Another Obstinate Baloth, that's pretty huge. We'll just slam dunk that creature. Might not get to do the Howling Mind thing, because we still have one card to tap down our Howling Mind here, so might not quite make it. Rust Goliath could be fun, but it's going to be really difficult to get to the 10 mana, and I'm not a huge fan of the 5 mana version. I think I would rather just go for a Blanchwood Prowler for another very good creature to sack. To the Powerstone Fracture type stuff. I guess a Gix's Caress is solid here too, and I do have a lot of 2 mana creatures, even if they are a bit worse than Blanchwood Prowler. I'll actually go Gix's Caress here, have something at 3 mana to do, even if it doesn't affect the board immediately. This card actually just plays really well in the format because there are a lot of good bombs to try to rip out of your opponent's hand. And the Powerstone is valuable as well for a lot of just sack effects, high mana artifacts, and stalwart style abilities. Take an Epic Confrontation here, or a Pallbearer. Not too much else. I guess a Skull Flare because I don't have a lot of 3-drops, but I'll just go for Confrontation. Now we can go ahead and pick up a Blanchwood Prowler, taking it over pretty much nothing else. I'm not really going to splash in Evangel of Synthesis. Okay. Alright, final pack. We only have one Stalwart. We are not going to run the Howling Mind. Sad day. Sad day. Could take the 3rd Prowler or the 1st Pallbearer. Again, I feel like I have really just a lot of top end with Portal to Phyrexia running around, so I'm just going to take a 3rd Prowler. I'm definitely going to have at least one game where I'm going to end up milling both my Portal to Phyrexia and my Emergency Weld, and I'll just be super sad. Blanchwood Prowler number 4, okay. Well, Honor Guard can get out of here then, and Infiltrator. Just a bunch of 2 mana 1/1s. Really making sure we keep hitting lands all the way up to our 6-7 mana. Cut the supply drop here. I'm not in love with the Epic Confrontation anymore because we have so many 1/1s now. Probably cut that as well. Run double Powerstone Fracture. Overwhelming Remorse. Splash in Obliterating Bolt. Seems fine. None of these are playable, I'm pretty sure. Yep, none of them are very interesting, very exciting at all. Take a Moment of Defiance over a Hoarding Recluse as an option. Rare Draft and Uncommon. Actually, definitely will play a Gnarlroot Pallbearer. We could use another beefy card with all of these Blanchwood Prowlers, guaranteeing that we hit all of our land drops. So, alright. Pretty solid, pretty sweet green-black deck here. Primarily green-black, but with one Stalwart and one Energy Refractor to splash in one white card, one red card. One Hero of the Dunes, one Obliterating Bolt. Seems good to me. Confrontation and Defiance back in for now, so they are options. Might have enough removal just in black that I don't need to splash in Bolt. Then we're just splashing in Scrapwork Mutt's ability, Onulit's ability, and one Hero of the Dunes. Flash it in off like a single planes in here. As well as one Energy Refractor, one Stalwart for 3 different white sources. And then I just run 0 mountains. And just I don't unearth the mutts unless I have Stalwart or Refractor, that's fine. Yeah, that seems reasonable. I'm going to cut the bolt and just go to 1 plains here. 11 green, 10 black, 1 white right now. Cut 5 cards. How many creatures are we sitting at? 17 creatures? That is plenty. 15 to 17 for your general, like, aggro limited decks. I don't think we're that aggressive here. I think we can cut down the creatures a little more. Disciples doesn't look that good in here, because we only have 3 Unearth cards, the 2 Scrapwork Mutts and the 1 Onulet. So if we draw this after we've already played 1 or 2 of those, then it doesn't really do much at all. So we'll cut Disciples of Gix. I still like the War Plow for that flexibility on the curve, being 2 or 6. Pallbearer and Boulder Branch Golem are definitely staying in. Trench Stalker, we have 2 Scrapwork Mutts and 1 Energy Refractor to work with it. It's not a ton, but I do want some beef in here. Yeah, I think I really just want to cut the Disciples. That was about it there. Definitely keeping Portal to Phyrexia, keeping Emergency Weld to work with it. That also just works really well with Powerstone Fracture, giving us a 1/1 soldier to sacrifice. Removal spells, we have Overwhelming Remorse, double Powerstone. Don't think I'm cutting those at all. Not in love with this Epic Confrontation, because we don't get to use it till very late. We don't have anything that fights well until 4 mana or more. Then we have some stuff that does fight really well. Love Gaia's Gift as a combat trick, which makes Moment of Defiance a little bit of a harder sell. That's a trick that works really well with Trench Stalker because it gives us that card draw, but aside of that, not great. I love Gix's Caress with the Powerstone Fracture, but I do already have 4 Prowlers to work with it and potential Unearth effects from Scrapwork Mutts that work well with the Fracture as well. So I already do have a lot of Fracture synergies. 3 cards to cut over here. Yeah, maybe I do just cut the Trench Stalker. 1 more something. Maybe the Gnawing Vermin. You just sideboard tech against decks with a lot of 1/1s and 3/1s. Could be reasonable. Just sideboard tech against the very aggressive decks that are hitting us on the ground quickly. Yeah, I'm fine with that. This is best 2 out of 3, so we can kind of start with a really basic build, and then it's not like those cards are out of the deck forever. We have the ability to put in a Gnawing Vermin if our opponent has a lot of 2-mana 3/1s like Tummaquil Honor Guards and stuff that it'll play well against. If they have a bunch of cheap creatures that we could confront well, we could put that in the deck. If they have some big stuff we want to rip out of their hands, we can side in the Gix's Caress. And Moment of Defiance as well for really aggressive matchups where we want to try to gain some life and stem the bleeding a little bit, try to outrace them a bit. Could be useful. Yeah, I like that a lot. Since this is traditional draft, since it is best 2 out of 3, I think I'm pretty happy to start with a deck like this. Alright, here we have a final look at today's deck. This is going to be a green-black deck with a couple splashes. We're getting some good Unearth value with cards like Scrapwork Mutts and Takesia's Onulet. With our Energy Refractor and Sentinel Stalwart to splash those in. We have 4 Blanchwood Prowlers, making sure that we just keep hitting our land drops throughout the game, make it up to high mana costs to cast some pretty big stuff. We start curving out really at 4 mana with Obstinate Baloth, gain a bunch of life, stay in the game, and have the biggest creature on board. Then we have some high impact 5 drops. Hero of the Dunes being exceptional with our cheap creatures like Mutts and Prowlers getting another good enter the battlefield effect. And then some big beef between Gnarlroot Pallbearer, Boulder Branch Golem, and the biggest bomb in the deck, Portal to Phyrexia. We also have an Emergency Weld in the deck if we accidentally mill the Portal to Phyrexia. As long as we don't mill both the Portal and the Emergency Weld, we can use that Weld to pick up that Portal, put it back in our hand, and cast that in the late game to try to finish off our opponent. So pretty powerful stuff here, some great interaction, 2 Powerstone Fractures and Overwhelming Remorse for removal, and 2 Gaia's Gift for great combat tricks. Just a super solid looking deck all around with a decent sideboard to move some things around in this best of 3 draft format. So without further ado, let's head into the gameplay. Here we are starting things off in game 1. I will keep this hand. We've got a turn 2 Scrapwork Mutt we can use to go ahead and discard one of our high mana value cards and try and hit more lands if we need to. I might even just discard the Gaia's Gift, since I'm unlikely to use that as a trick for quite some time. And my highest mana value cards can all just be played for 4 mana still. I think I am going to go ahead and drop the gift here. Make sure I make my way up the curve, and there we go. We've got 4 mana in our hand. We know we're going to be playing some Obstinate Baloths on turn 4, which will be beautiful. Be even better if they make me discard one. That would automatically win us the game. But they probably will read it and make us discard Boulder Branch Golem or Powerstone Fracture instead. Yep, Powerstone Fracture is the choice. Unfortunate. Not often do you get to live the dream where your opponent makes you discard an Obstinate Baloth, but one can dream, one can hope. Someday we'll do it. I have had somebody make me discard a Nullhide Ferox, and we won that game pretty quickly. That's basically the 6/6 version of Obstinate Baloth. When your opponent forces you to discard it, you get a big 6/6 hexproof onto the board. So Misery Shadow is a very, very, very bad time for us. That's going to be an absolutely massive creature that also exiles our stuff, so Hero of the Dunes doesn't work with it. Or against it, I should say. Yep, that was a pretty great Gix's Crest for them just ripping our removal out of our hands so we can't deal with the Shadow. Just drop an Obstinate Baloth here and we try to establish blockers that are big enough to trade into it. Double pump the Shadow for fun. Alright, pass the turn, so they're already just not attacking to our board, so it looks like we're going to have a fine job just presenting double blocks for the Shadow. That being said, we're not going to really be able to break through or do anything until we get rid of the Shadow still, because they have enough mana to make it a 7/7. So we kind of just have to sit here and hang out with our opponent for a bit. Hanging out, having a drink. Catching up. Going on with you. Well, that's rude. Exile an Obstinate Baloth. Scoring Warplow now. 1 mana away from the 5/4 version. The 1/1 version is big enough to trade into the Shadow because of Death Touch, but I think I'd rather play the 5/4 version so it's actually pretty solid at attacking as well. When I could just Blanchwood Prowler here. We're at 28 life. We can take a hit from Misery's Shadow. Come on, land. There we go. And it's a Plains, which is even better. Gonna let us get that Hero of the Dunes out very quickly. We're at 6 out of 7 mana for a full 7 mana Boulder Branch Golem. So we're just gonna play it nice and chill, pass the turn. Hang out and relax. Yet again. Scrapwork Rager from our opponent for some good value. Draw a card off of that. Our opponent is on at least black-white with Legion to Ashes. But they could be primarily mono-black, just splashing in a bunch of stuff off Refractor. You never know. Well, if we're at 7 mana, our best play is just a big old Boulder Branch Golem. Buff that Misery Shadow for fun and for F6 value, I guess. I could send in Baloth here. The only way they kill it is with Misery Shadow. Yeah, I guess we actually just get an attack here. Just block with the Clay Rev to bring it back later. No, take the full 4. Alright. Pretty decent. I would like to remind everyone we've gained 14 life this game, I guess. We're at 34. I blinked and we're at 34 life. Double Obstinate Baloth plus Boulder Branch Golem will do that. Well, Gix's Caress is very annoying for us. I thought we were just chilling and hanging out, and now I'm getting caressed. This is not what I signed up for. This is some stranger danger. Alright, no post-combat stuff. We just have another land here. We do have a lot more mana than our opponent. That is sometimes a good thing. If I draw any more lands, it's going to quickly turn into a bad thing, though. Getting to the point where it's basically just a flooding. They have 2 mana, they can make Shadow a 4/4. They still don't kill Baloth unless they specifically block with Shadow. Same with Boulder Branch, so I think I just attack with both, play a 5/4. I still have a Scrapwork Mutt on board, so I'm actually going to hold this forest in hand. The Mutt isn't going to go in the graveyard to be able to get unearthed until the Misery Shadow is gone. But if this Misery Shadow ever leaves, and I can discard a card, draw a card with Mutt again, I'm definitely going to want to do that, so we'll hold the forest. And we've got big creatures threatening enough damage. They're eventually going to have to trade Misery Shadow off into something, theoretically. Alright, Overwhelming Remorse on our Boulder Branch Golem. They have, thanks to the Gix's Caresses, 3 mana for Shadow still. Make it a 5/5 on blocks. That can kill Baloth without even trading. I'm going to go for Prowler here and see if I mill another Scrapwork Mutt. That could change my turn here. Change my combat, so we do it pre-combat. Mill the Portal to Phyrexian. Well, that sucks. We have not milled our Emergency Weld, though. So if we draw into that, that's an incredible draw. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do need 2 more lands before I could play the Portal to Phyrexia off an Emergency Weld, so I might actually run out this forest pretty soon. So the Warplow still gets in all day long with its Death Touch. And looks like we are going to trade here. And the Misery Shadow's gone. Now we can actually start attacking with everybody else. We can use the Mutt to discard this forest and draw a card later. If I don't draw into Emergency Weld, if I do draw into Emergency Weld, then we're going to be slamming down the next 2 lands that we get. But that is the only thing in our whole deck that would want more than 7 mana. So I think I still want to hold the forest for now. Onulet is awkward. Uh-oh. Well, this is really, really bad. Meticulous Excavation. They can return unearthed cards to their hands. They can unearth something and then also get it back to their hand permanently. They get enough mana. 4 mana to unearth the Onulet. They'd need another white. They have 3 mana total. Yeah, they don't have enough mana to do that yet. I guess I do just send in Baloth. Baloth plus Mutt. If they kill the Mutt, that's fine because I can draw another card. Kill these 2, it's not great. If I attack everybody, they kill this for free, take 4, 5, 6, 7. I just don't have enough gas to follow up here. I think I'm just sending in Baloth, Mutt. Okay, Baloth is going to trade. And they gain 2 life. We are fingers crossed we hit some non-lands, or if we are just going to keep hitting lands, at least hit an Emergency Weld to make some use out of these lands. Yeah, if opponent survives too much longer, if we hit 1 or 2 more lands here, Excavation plus Transmigrant Altar, both incredible cards to try to win a long game, grind it out well. So they're very quickly going to start coming ahead if we can't keep pressure on them. Okay, play a tapped Clay Revenant. They have 1 mana up now. They can use the Altar to get 3 mana. 3 colorless. They have nothing to do with the colorless though, so we just attack for 5 and pass. Unfortunately, no gas for us again. Another land drop is a pretty brutal draw. All we want is anything to put pressure on, and we have not found it. Past couple turns. Okay, they're going to get that mana. They have their own Portal to Phyrexia. They have a Rust Goliath. That's pretty cool. And that's like our 3rd or 4th land in a row, which is brutal. 8, 9. We do have Portal to Phyrexia mana. I can cycle Mutt. Try to find the Emergency Weld. Yeah, they just get to sit behind a Rust Goliath and take over the game with Excavation and Altar. We need to cycle into something here. There's the emergency weld. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Unless I top deck a land next turn, I won't have the mana to play the Portal to Phyrexia the turn that I emergency weld, so I think I have to emergency weld right now, and we are just fingers crossed they don't have a third Gix's Caress. If they don't have a third Gix's Caress, we win. If they do, we lose. Because if they have Gix's Caress, even if I don't emergency weld, they can just Gix's Caress the weld, and then I'll never get the portal back. So either way, we get Gix's Caress. Yep, so we just do this, so even if I don't hit a land, I still play portal. Hit us for 10, sure. It's got trample anyway. Down to 24. You ever taken 10 and then you're back down to 24? It's actually not that uncommon of an occurrence, so probably pick up the Rust Goliath because it's going to get sacked anyway. They might as well. Get a 3/3 from the altar that we kill with the portal. The Pallbearer +3/+3. Doesn't give trample, does it? No, so it's not going to be lethal, so we just play portal. Even if it did give trample, it would be close to lethal, but not quite. Alright, can they blow up a portal to Phyrexia? Can they blow up a portal to Phyrexia and have enough mana left to make some blockers? No, so we're good. They've got a 10/10 blocker, sure, but I'm going to kill them with everything else here. Probably pick up the Misery Shadow. Actually, Hero of the Dunes buffs my whole board. Yeah, Hero of the Dunes buffs the whole board, and we're just very lethal on board. Block, take 4. Yep, don't even need to play anything else. Alright. Big stuff from Portal to Phyrexia in the end, but we did get 30 cards deep into our library, so it was relatively likely we were going to draw Portal to Phyrexia that game, like 75% chance when we see 75% of the cards in our library. Did get lucky, though, that even though we milled the portal, we didn't mill the weld. That was huge. Being able to actually draw the weld in that 75% of the library rather than milling the weld. That was incredible for us, but... Alright, well... They seem like a very grindy deck. Black-white, really good late-game value, so we want to try to be as aggressive as possible. Yeah, they have these caresses, just manipulating our hand. They have this extra card draw from Rager, bunch of 2-for-1 value because all the Unearth cards, Revenant coming back and forth with the Transmigrant Altar. If there's any way to get more aggressive, we probably do that. Not really. I don't think Vermin's very good against them. I didn't see a lot of 1 toughness. Mostly 2/2s and stuff. Confrontation's good against Misery Shadow, so I could see Confrontation. Maybe Honor Guard gets us more aggressive. Moment of Defiance here. Gix's Caress could be okay. What we take out, though? Start taking out some Prowlers. Kind of our flex spot, because we just have so many of them. They really help get to those high mana costs, though. Let's see, cutting like 2 of them here. I'm actually not in love with the moment. Cut 2 of them, put in the Honor Guard and the Confrontation. Definitely Confrontation. Maybe we cut the Honor Guard, still just be triple Prowler. 1 Confrontation. Yeah, no, I still don't love Honor Guard. We'll go triple Prowler, 1 Epic Confrontation. Again, because the Confrontation can make a 1/1 kill at Misery Shadow if they don't have the mana up to pump it. Which at times they were almost completely tapping out to play other stuff, so at the very least our 4/4s and 6/5s and stuff could go ahead and confront the Misery Shadow. Alright, very solid hand. We have Emergency Weld if I ever mill the Portal to Phyrexia again. We have the 2 Blanchwood Prowlers to not guarantee, but make it quite likely that we hit land drop 3 and 4. So the hand also has good mana. So pretty much a snap keep here. Early game plays, extra land drops to make it to late game cards. There's an Obstinate Baloth coming up. I need to hit land drops on curve pretty badly, so I'm going to go for Prowler over Mutt. It digs 3 cards deep instead of 1 card deep for lands. Still doesn't find it, but if the land is on top of our deck now, it's because we just milled 3 non-land cards out of the way. So still helped us dig for lands, even if it didn't find it the turn we casted it. Worst case scenario, I just play the second Prowler here and then play a land. The odds of us not having a land in the top 7 are astronomically low. Alright, well there was no land in the top 4. Let's check card number 5, 6, and 7 now. 5, 6, 7. There was 1 land in the top 7. Alright, well, starting to get really, really likely we hit the rest of our lands, which is good. We're at about a 58% chance of hitting lands now. And there we go. Hit that forest naturally there. Still at a 57% chance to hit lands because we've dug so many non-lands out of the way. So we've got a very land-heavy deck right now. But I'm very fine with that because we've got a 9-mana bomb in our hand. So if we just hit 5 more land drops the next 5 turns, that's a-okay. And any combination of spells and lands is pretty good here because we still have other stuff to do even if I can't afford Portal to Phyrexia until later. Alright, Overwhelming Remorse on the 4/4. We get to keep chipping in with the 1/1, and I hit the 5th mana to play the Unearth here, which is quite nice, of course. Another Overwhelming Remorse? Another Overwhelming Remorse it is. No unearthing of the Onulet today. 3 mana away from Portal to Phyrexia now. Scrapwork Mutt, discard Gaia's Gift, because I don't really have any good creatures to protect anyway. We just want to hit land 7, 8, 9. There we go, there's land 7. I could Emergency Weld, or I could get greedy and save it for Portal in case they sideboarded in Disenchant, which is really likely. If they have one. Play the very long game here, just hang out with our opponent again. We're pretty good at that. Did a lot game 1. Just chilling. Just vibing together. Steel Exemplar, alright, a 4/4. There goes our attacks, but hey, 7 drop off the top, let's go. Perfect way to use this 7 mana. There's Disenchant for the Boulder Branch Golems. They don't have it for Portal now. There's a Transmigrant Altar with nothing to sack to it. We're at 32 life. We can take quite a few hits from Exemplar, and if they do attack us, they're opening up counterattacks. So they just pass. Here's Obstinate Baloth off the top. Still 2 lands away from Portal. But that's a big enough creature to threaten to trade with the Steel Exemplar. And even if they top deck a Gix's Caress, when our hand is Portal plus Emergency Weld, we are guaranteed to still have a Portal in the hand. Right, Onulet is the draw. Onulet is the play. 1 land away from casting Portal to Phyrexia now. Just past the turn. Just chilling. If they hit Gix's Caress this turn, it would actually be kind of bad, because then they can caress the Portal and I have to spend mana to Emergency Weld it back and I don't get to play it next turn. I'm down to 32. Sack the Onulet, gain some life, have the ability to unearth it later, just make a 3/3 version instead. There's a Scrapwork Mutt. I would love to discard a card to try to draw land here. But if I do that, I don't have the Weld for the Portal, or I don't have the Portal. So I think I could even just not play the Mutt. But I think I just play it and don't discard. Just pass turn. That's going to be 100% revealing to my opponent that I have a Portal to hand, but that should be almost completely obvious now anyway, because I stopped playing lands. I've missed several land drops and they know it. So no, I have to have something that's like 9 mana in my hand, and what else is there? Alright, Clay Revenant with Transmigrant Altar, obviously very, very good. Pretty slow though, so Portal could definitely outrace it. And there's the Blanchwood Prowler to guarantee that Portal to Phyrexia mana. There we go. So we can definitely play it next turn. Okay, they get to sack their Clay Revenant and a couple 3/3s, so the sack ability is not going to be the greatest, but still, reanimating things is going to be tremendously good. So whether you're going to disenchant it here and then I just emergency weld? Yeah, you got it. I will weld that right back. Still wipe most of the board immediately. If I draw a land, I can weld it and play it. Continuing the Transmigrant Altar combo. There we go. Weld the portal back. Play it again. Wipe the board. Attack with everybody. Now they have to have a third disenchant. Okay, Clay Revenant's coming back, probably just making another 3/3 here. They sure are. Portal popping off. Get their Steel Exemplar, I guess. Yeah, pick up my Pallbearer is pretty exciting. Buff my 1/1. Get in for massive damage. Yeah, they have to block there. Take 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That is lethal. Going for Pallbearer. Alright, well, pretty self-explanatory stuff. We got to play 3 Portal to Phyrexias in 2 games of Magic. So, we kind of won those 2 games of Magic. Big bombs getting played today. Moving on to round number 2. Here we are in round 2. This hand's a little high on mana, but outside of that, it's pretty sweet. And if you've got a 9 mana card in your hand, can you be that high on mana? Can you have too many lands when you have the 9 drop in hand? I think the answer's no. This is a pretty aggressive format though, so if our opponent's a good aggro deck, we could get destroyed. Milled to Scrapwork Mutt, that's pretty good. Or if we ever get our Energy Refractor or Sentinel Stalwart. I actually don't think I've drawn either of those cards yet. Might have milled one of them at some point. But yeah, they would be very, very useful here. I have multiple 5-drops here, so I might just play a Death-Touching Warplow. It's not going to block the Sprite, but it could block something else later. Gives us a way to use our mana for now. Because I know on turn 5, I'm going to play one of these, and then turn 6 I'll play the other one. So Warplow doesn't really fit into that super well. Powerstone Fracture. Yeah, it would probably be a good idea to kill this Battery Bearer before they cast a giant prototyping thing and draw a card when they do. Because they have 7 mana next turn if they play a land, and Battery Bearer is still around. This would be exceptional if I had Sentinel Stalwart instead of Warplow. I get to Stalwart back the Mutt, then sack the Mutt to Fracture. But this is still okay. And then hopefully whatever prototype thing they play doesn't have flying so that Warplow can trade into it later. Probably play Trench Stalker first so they don't get to keep hitting me with our Argothian Sprite. Wake in the Woods. Well, they get to cast anything in the universe now. They have 8 mana on board already. 9 mana if they play a land for turn. Awaken the Woods just makes 3 1/1 forests. Tower Worker? It's all mana ramp and no prototype cards in hand? Yeah, they had 9 mana there. I cannot imagine that if they had like a big expensive card there, that their best play was Tower Worker. Unless they have the 10/10 Reach Trample. That's probably what it is. They probably have the 10/10 Reach Trample. You know, the worst part about this is Portal to Phyrexia isn't even going to be that good. We're just going to kill 3 1/1s with it, which is rough. Luckily, I do have a 1/1 Death Toucher to trade into the 10/10 Trample. There's that. Teething Wormlet. Maybe there just is no beef. No beef. Vegetarian plays from our opponent. 7 mana up. Just gotta keep passing. We're 2 turns away from Portal to Phyrexia. No white source for Hero of the Dunes is rough. Argothian Sprite is gonna win the game. Argothian Sprite, when you've ramped up a tremendous amount like this, is more than enough to just kill us. Even if I Portal, I think. Honestly. Yep, still doing nothing, but next turn we can Portal. Yeah, this is going to be bad. This Argothian Sprite. And all I can pick up with Portal is like a 2/1. Iron Claw Crusher. Pretty crushing. It does not have Trample, at least. But it is going to give the Sprite like +4/+0 in attacks. It gives the Flyer +4/+0 in attacks. I think I actually just have to scoop here so my opponent doesn't know I have Portal. Because Portal's not even going to win us the game. We still just die. We play Portal, they sack 3 1/1s. They still attack with a 6/6 that I can only block with like a 4/5. Oh. Well, if they don't attack with Sprite, we might be okay. I have no idea why they didn't attack with Sprite there, because my only creature that can block Sprite is a 4/5. So all I had was a chump block for Sprite. I still don't think we can possibly win here. I guess it's not that valuable to hide the Portal from them. Like, what are they going to do? Just put Broken Wings in their deck? Oh no, in this format, the green artifact removal exiles. If they put that in, that's going to be pretty devastating. And again, I don't think even if I cast Portal, my odds of winning are very high. We're killing 3 1/1s. Goes to their turn where they get to crack back. They get to hit us for 6 in the sky with Wing Commando and force a chump block with Argothian Sprite. I guess I can Gaia's Gift to kill the Commando later. Well, I guess we gotta try. We'll give them the information. We gotta try. We'll play it out. We'll play it out. I think our odds of winning are like 5, maybe 10%. Looks like they can absolutely outrace this right now. But we'll see. No reach creatures or flyers in graveyards. The Scrapwork Mutt. Oh, yeah, we're just dead here. They kill my 1 fleshy creature. Yeah, we're dead on board if they attack all. Buff the Wing Commando or the Argothian Sprite. Okay, yeah, they see the line. I don't know why they didn't attack with Sprite last turn then. If they attacked with Sprite last turn, I would have just not shown them the Portal to Phyrexia. Because the only thing that would make sense of why you don't attack with Sprite there is if you just don't realize that all I can do is trump. Maybe they were scared I was going to like draw 2 cards at instant speed to give it Death Touch? Or just have some kind of big trick? I guess it was because maybe I could have a trick. I probably did have a lot of mana up because I was just sitting there waiting for Portal. Alright, well, Awake in the Woods, super scary. We might want to put a Gix's Caress in for that. That is what let them just dump so much on the board so fast in the end and really kill us. Our Gothian Sprite was absolutely deadly, but we have everything in our deck that we can possibly do to that. I guess I could Epic Confrontation to kill it early game. Yeah, that's actually kind of nice here. I might just cut Gaia's Gifts. Generally solid cards, but I think I need to be trying to trick into killing stuff. I guess it's one of my few ways to deal with flyers. We'll cut one Prowler, one Gift here. We're definitely putting an Epic Confrontation, so even our 1/1 can fight a 2/2. Can fight a 2/2 with that. And then Gix's Crest to try to pull out one of their gigantic prototyping artifacts or their Awake in the Woods before they cast it. That was pretty rough there. I think if we drew like one removal spell, we probably could have got there. Kill the 6/6 unblockable thing. But with no removal, we just don't have enough life total to get all the way to the Portal to Phyrexia, when pretty much none of our creatures could block that gigantic sprite or the flyer. And I do have a Powerstone Fracture here and a Gix's Caress. Gix's Caress alongside Boulder Branch is really nice. We're probably going to Fracture the Prowler if I need to kill something. Alright, let's hit a land. We've got some high mana stuff here. Did hit a land, grab a swamp. Milled our Energy Refractor, sad day. Wonder if I will ever cast a Sentinel Stalwart or an Energy Refractor today. They are two key cards to the deck. So they have Scatter Ray to go ahead and counter the Portal to Phyrexia, sure. They just held up a Scatter Ray instead of just playing Fauna Shaman? Kind of wild. So their hand is Auras and a counterspell, so if I just kill their creature, if they top deck Blind here, they could have a really, really bad time. Could get rid of the Scatter Ray, but like, I don't even have the portal for them to counter anyway. Well, top deck Tower Worker is good. Now they still have a creature. Just slam down a Boulder Branch while they don't have the counter mana. Or do I Powerstone Fracture the Tower Worker away before they can put Audacity on it? I think I just play Boulder Branch while they can't counter it. And then we kill Tower Worker after they put some stuff on it. Their Blanchwood armor is actually horrible here. It gives +1/+1 right now. Okay, play Audacity. They get to draw a card when Tower Worker dies. Now for the trade here, we're both just playing off the top, but I have a removal spell for whatever they put a Blanchwood on. They're just going to keep it on board for now. They're going to put a Blanchwood armor in this thing for +1/+1. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the saddest Blanchwood armor that I've ever seen. I don't think I've seen a Blanchwood armor for +0/+0, so I'm pretty sure that's the saddest Blanchwood armor I've ever seen. And I could reasonably make it to 10 mana for Pallbearer. I'm already at 6, 7, 8, and 9. After I play these swamps. I think I actually keep the Powerstone then and just sack Prowler to kill Tower Worker now that it's a 4/4. I mean, they're at 12. They can't keep trying to race us. There are more important creatures in their deck. There's all the big prototype. I'm just going to hold off for now still. Hoarding Recluse. 2/3 reach Death Touch. Puts a card from a graveyard onto the bottom of somebody's library. Obstinate Baloth. Well, that's 8 mana. I can play that and pay for Scatter Ray, so that's what we'll do here. Boulder Branch for Recluse trade. Here's Baloth. Back to 19 life. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 mana away from Pallbearer, so I can't do it next turn. They are tapped out though, so now I can. Just play it while they're tapped out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I do have enough mana to do both. So I think that's what we do. 1 mana away from Portal to Phyrexia if I sack the Powerstone, and that's the only thing I won't be able to afford if I sack the Powerstone, so I think I do to get more damage in here. Gix's Caress, just for revealing Scatter Ray, ended up being really valuable this game. We got some nasty lines around there, Scatter Ray. Now I can just always afford it for the rest of eternity. Discard the swamp, draw a card. Trench Stalker's reasonable. We offer the trade Pallbearer for Tower Worker here, because Tower Worker would let them draw a card when it dies, so I think that's the trade they'll take, and then if they take that trade, they don't have Scatter Ray up anymore, and then we can play Trench Stalker post-combat. Beautiful. Now they only have a blue mana up instead of a blue and 1, so we can just play Trench Stalker around the Scatter Ray. They do have Epic Confrontation off the top. Or land off the top, I don't think we know. One of those 2 cards was their draw for turn. Oh, they can block 1 thing and take 3, but then I'm down to a 1-1 and a 2-1. I attack with both. They kill the 2-1 and take 1. They're down to 2. Close Discord here because people are being annoying. And let's pass the turn. Alright, our Gothian Sprite's back, hopefully a little too late. Stalwart lets me unearth Mutts later, but again, I just can't attack into Pallbearer. Oh, Sprite might just get us here if we run out of gas. Gonna be a 4/4 blocker. And then it'll be a 6/6 blocker. The mana sink is just horrific for us in these board stalls like this. Okay, we did draw one of our removal spells this game, Overwhelming Remorse. Oh, we drew one earlier. We fractured the gigantic prototype thing. 6, 7, 8, 9 mana. They have enough to use Sprite once and make it a 4/4. If I attack with everybody and they block a 2/1, they take 6 and die. They have to trade here. If I just Remorse Pallbearer, they have to block Baloth with Sprite, buff the Sprite. That's a trade and they take 4. That's their only block they can make. Otherwise they're dead. So we get the Sprite off the board before they have enough mana to double pump. And we're good. Still holding this Forest for Mutts. Discard and draw if it comes to that. And it looks like we'd get there. With the Scatter Ray still in their hand doing absolutely nothing in the end. Very rude stuff from Gix's Caress. That's definitely staying in. Epic Confrontation as well. Again, if they drop that Argothian Sprite turn 2, and we can just confront it by fighting it with a Prowler or a Mud or something. That'll be good. I think we're running it back here. I think we are running it back for the final game of round 2. I don't really think I can keep this. It's just so easy to flood out here, drawing blind. I mean, obviously most of our hands do want a lot of lands. We don't even have double green for our Balos, though. This is just so brutal if I just hit a couple more lands off the top without hitting spells. I feel like I have to take a mulligan here. Oh god, not like this. This is horrifically bad. No green source and 2 double green cards. Alright, well, we might just get Moldifived to death here. Don't have anything to even use Confrontation with yet. At least our opponent mulled to 6, but mull to 5 is never where you want to be. Well, we've got our 5 mana for turn 5 Trench Stalker. If we hit another land, we have turn 6 Hero of the Dunes. And there's the turn 2 Argothian Sprite with no interaction. Even if I kept Confrontation, I couldn't kill it for a long time, because I still have no creatures on board. An Obstinate Baloth of their own. It's all lands over here, so we gotta wait till turn 5. Taking 6 on board, going to 12. Yeah, I mean, pretty sure we just auto-lose here. Just really bad hands for game 3. Yeah, they've got the Awaken the Woods too. It's all lands off the top. If I keep the initial hand, I just play a 1/1 turn 1 that all I can do is chump block Sprite, so I end up having to just fracture the Baloth away with my 1/1. And those are the only 2 non-land cards I had in the whole hand. We were not winning the game with draws like these. Game 3 has been predetermined, predestined. Fate was against us here. 1-1 for this traditional draft. I can play a hero without reanimating anything, or I can play a single 2/1. Brutal draws, game 3. Here we are in round 3, the final round of this traditional best of 3 Brothers War draft. An excellent hand for game 1. Feeling pretty confident about this one. Prowler into double Baloth if we can hit the green source from Prowler. We're on the play as well, which is helpful. To curving out with these Baloths as quickly as possible. Trying to catch our opponent on the back foot here. Crush them under the weight of these beasts. Which, funnily enough, if we took Tawnos, we could have been green-blue, double Baloth the deck based on how our how our draft pod worked out for us. Getting the double Baloth. Baloth is pretty good with Tawnos. So our opponent is on white, at the very least. Got a plains on the board. Let's see what else they're doing here. Mono white for now. Usually pretty aggressive, the white decks. Alright, that was maybe arguably a bad attack, because one of the most popular commons in white is Ambush Paratrooper, which is a 2-mana 1/2 with flying and flash, so they could have played it at instant speed to just kill my Prowler for nothing. But luckily they didn't have it anyway. So we just got a free damage there. Green-white it is. Could be a bit of a mirror match. They have more planes than we do, though. What if they're green, white, and black? Who knows? We'll see. They've got 3 mana up here. They're playing it nice and slow, nice and chill. Gonna be another one of those games where we're just hanging out with our opponent. Seeing what's up, seeing how it's going. We know what we're doing the next few turns. We've got turn 4 Baloth, turn 5 Baloth, turn 7 Boulder Branch. Just need to find something to do on turn 6, and we've got 3 draw steps to draw something to do on turn 6. War Plow's perfect. That's what we'll do turn 6. Let's see if they've drawn into an Ambush Paratrooper now. They do actually have an instant speed card up now. At least Arena is snitching on them, actually waiting. So either they top decked an Ambush Paratrooper or they have a 3 mana instant. I just lose a single 1/1 if they have Paratrooper here. I'm just gonna do it. I'll know that they're tapped out for when we play the Baloth, at least, if that is what it ends up being. They couldn't have some kind of instant speed removal spell for Baloth, but I don't think there is a instant speed white removal spell for 3 or less in the format. At least not at common or uncommon. There's like Deadly Riposte, but that obviously doesn't kill an untapped Obstinate Baloth. That does 3 damage to a tapped creature. Alright, so we're still chilling. We've got our excellent curve going here, and our opponent plays nothing turn 4. We even have an Overwhelming Remorse I could use during combat if I need to. Attack with everybody, hold up the Remorse in case something really weird happens. But things look really good for us right now. Oh, we sure do hit them for 6 damage. I'm going to play Baloth holding up the swamp here. I don't understand auto-tapper sometimes. Holding up the swamp, so if they do something explosive that's going to kill 2 of our creatures, we do get to hold up Overwhelming Remorse. The very corner case, but there's no reason to hold up the forest or the plains instead. Alright, there's an Onulet from our opponent. Tempted to Remorse that. They don't unearth it and gain any extra life. We hit for 8, 9, 10, but they gain 2. Gain 2, then we hit for 10. Yeah, I mean, that seems worth it. They're going to be at 3 life now. We're at 3 life, even a 1/1's pretty threatening. We'll just drop the War Plow as well. Any 3 creatures get in, they're dead. Even if they have 2 very good blockers, 2 removal spells, 4 blockers is going to save them, though. They do have to block both Baloths. They can't quadruple block one of them. So they block 2 Baloths, block 2 1/1s, and take 1. I think I just send in the Baloths then. Kill 2 1/1s without losing creatures, and then we play a Boulder Branch Golem. Alright, as long as they don't have a board wipe, we're just slamming beef onto the table. Just slapping the meat out there. And they are going to scoop them up there, so game 1 does go very well for us, but I assume most games with a nice curve into double Baloth will. So, not much to see about their deck. We saw Mass Production and Tokasia's Onulet. That's all that we saw. So not really enough information to really sideboard much. I think I'm just going to run it back here. I mean, I could put Caress in to try to make them discard Mass Production. Be fine. Gnawing Vermin's fine against a bunch of 1/1s, but I'm pretty cool running it back here. Worst case scenario, game 2, we get to gather a lot more information about their deck to use going into game 3. And best case scenario, we just win game 2. So we'll see. Again, I don't think 2 cards is enough info to sideboard around, because even if they do have that 1 Mass Production that like maybe some kind of board wipe that gave -1/-1 to everything would be good against, maybe the rest of their deck is like chunky, beefy creatures or something. This is pretty unkeepable mana-wise. I really need to hit a swamp, and even if I do, I just have removal and no Proactive plays. Alright, this is a lot better. Perfect mana, a little bit of card draw with Refractor. I guess it's not a lot better, but it's good enough to keep. We're not actually, again, we're not actually doing anything till turn 5, which is rough. Stalwart, turn 1. Okay, this game is going to go infinitely better for our opponent than the first game. That much is pretty clear. Now we're the opponent. Now we're the one doing nothing until like turn 5. Not a good place to be. Ooh, especially when they curve out with a Yoshin Dissident. Yeah, this is a much different deck than we saw game 1. We're getting a lot more information already. We gotta just Refractor here. A 1/1 Death Touching Morplow is not gonna do a ton here. They just won't attack with the Dissident. They'll just use it as an enchantment, basically, if I put a 1/1 Death Touch down. Scrap Trawler? Well, that is pretty bad. Put the counter on the Dissident. Okay, well now a 1/1 Death Touch is pretty appealing. And I could play that and Stalwart. Sure. Now I hold off their 2/2 from attacking, because it's got a good valuable ability that they won't want to send in. Scrap Trawler's still coming in, though. We get to play Onulet next turn. I might trade into Scrap Trawler if they send it in, kill it before they get any more. Shoot down. That's rude as hell. Well, this sucks. I need to not block so I can play Onulet this next turn. Might be one of those matches that's just whoever's on the play wins. Fingers crossed that it is one of those matches, because I do not think we're winning this game. And spoiler alert, we are going to be on the play for game 3. Oh my god, they got Simian Simulacrum as well? Good gravy. Yeah, this is just the polar opposite of game 1. Game 1 I drew a pretty great hand, they drew a miserable one. Game 2, they drew a pretty great hand, I drew a comparably miserable one. Basically nothing until turn 5. Now all I can do is chump there even. I go down to 4 otherwise. I just have 2 Gaia's Gifts that are really bad here because I just don't have enough blockers. Block, block, take 3. If they play one more artifact, we're dead. Alright, well. About time to move to game 3. We'll probably play Epic Confrontation in this matchup. There's another artifact, so we're dead. They just put a counter on Stalwart and attack all. If they play a little differently here, we might be okay. Dead on board? No, I take like 3 damage on board. Gaia's Gift, my Stalwart. Kill the Dissident, take 3. Lose no creatures. Don't have the mana to double... I guess I do have the mana to double Gaia's Gift. And I would do like this. But then they can unearth the Simulacrum and I'm super dead. If I double Gaia's Gift Onulet blocking like this. And if I block the 1/1 instead of the 2/2, I'm just dead on board. I just take 4. So I think I have to just single... I have to just Gaia's Gift my Stalwart up on the Trawler block and just not kill the Trawler here. Kill the Dissident instead and keep both creatures. I could, again, flip these around and just chump with Stalwart on the 2/2. Kill the Trawler. Maybe that's where we're at. Actually, don't think I have enough time to do this. Maybe I do. Okay, I do have enough time. Thanks, Arena. That was a little sketchy there. We're at 1. Okay, land means we're dead anyway. Alright. Worth it. Alright, Epic Confrontation, get in here. We need to kill Yotian Dissident or we're dead. So we need every single cheap removal spell we have to deal with that. Gnawing Vermin, another cheap play that holds off the Yotian Dissident or the Sentinel Stalwart that they play. Still don't love Caress, but it might be okay here. I'm not in love with the Gaia's Gift, but that's just because we drew pretty terribly there and didn't have any creatures to use it on. But if there was anything I'd make room with, it'd probably be the Gaia's Gifts and then drop one Prowler. Call it a deck. We've got a Confrontation now. We've got a Gnawing Vermin for another cheap creature, so we won't be caught with our pants down as likely. All right, we have 5 2-mana creatures and 2 1-mana creatures. Epic Confrontation and Double Fracture for cheap removal. Gix's Caress to manipulate their hand. A lot more better early game here now, especially for interaction. Yeah. All right, game 3. Let's see if whoever's on the play wins every game. That is definitely one determining factor in the game of Magic. Here we are in the final game of Magic of today's traditional draft. We will definitely be on the play first, and this is a sketchy hand, but with double Scrapwork Mutt, we can work to hit that green source. So I'm going to keep the 7-card hand here. We have seen how badly things can go when we mulligan. Opponent does take a mulligan here. Again, with double Scrapwork Mutt, we can put a lot of work towards hitting our green source, and I believe they took 2 mulligans. They are on the devastating mull to 5 here. We have been there previously today, so I definitely feel for our opponent. Alright, let's get things started. Swamp on the board, pass the turn. And opponent is immediately just vibing. There we go, Forest. Hero of the Dunes. That is by far the hardest thing to cast here, so I think I drop that even though I have Stalwart. Gix's Caress coming up if we hit a land next turn. We're at a 48% chance to draw lands right now. I do use untapped.in or untapped.gg. I don't remember what it's called. It's a nice deck tracker that just tells you, like, based on the cards you've drawn so far, how many lands are left in your deck, that kind of stuff. Get rid of Stalwart here, that feels dumb. I'd probably get rid of Trench Stalker. Wow, this is really bad. %. Every draw step of hitting a land now. There we go. Scrap Trawler doesn't bring anything back when there's only a Stalwart engraved, so let's just see what's up in the hand. Tinkering and Lodestone Golem. +2/+2 and untap it? That's all that does? Yeah, sure. Get rid of Golem and they just have a combat trick. I just block the Mutt, make them use the trick, and then we Powerstone Fractured Trawler and they have nothing left. Whereas we still have plays. Oh, they're just going to pre-combat it. Well, that makes it way, way easier. Yeah, this cares about mana value, not power. Yeah. Alright, well. I think we win this game. Especially because now I have a Prowler to sack to Fracture. Because they don't pick anything up with the Trawler, they just have 1 card in their hand. We have a Boulder Branch Golem coming up, and a creature already on the board. They have to draw tremendously well to outpace us here. Stalwart's going to let us reanimate this mutt, discard a land, draw a card later. We have just a ton more value than our opponent. They've got a 2/1 flyer with Unearth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not going to offer the Stalwart trade because I want to be able to unearth these mutts. They got to decide if they want to stop the 2 damage every turn from mutt, or just keep the flyer around. Alright, they're going to stop that 2 every turn. Let's drop the Boulder Branch Golem and pass. And start unearthing some Scrapwork mutts. So they can unearth the Thopter to hit us for 2, but they can't use it as a blocker at all. They have 2 other cards in hand. If they have any white cards, they can't play them, but there's the plains. So now if they hit any white cards, those are castable too. Recommission it is, bring back the Scrap Trawler as a 4/3 that is not big enough to block the Boulder Branch Golem profitably, but it does stop Scrapwork mutts from hitting them. Probably still use the mutt for value here to draw another card, although now I can Energy Refractor and just play both mutts. In which case they do actually hit a little bit. If I play both in one turn. One of them hits for 2, the other one just dies. Alright, cool. So we hit for 8, put them to 8 life. And pass the turn. And there's shoot down off the top for our 6/5. Still pretty far ahead here. And that's a wonderful draw. I'm actually going to use the Blanchwoods first and see if I can mill my portal to Phyrexia. Like a little greedy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I only need 1 more land. There's the portal. Okay, and I've got double blocks for Trawler. I guess I should have picked up that land earlier. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do need to top deck a land. I could go Onulet this turn, gain a little bit of life instead of playing Weld right now. I need to top deck a land anyway. I'm probably supposed to just Weld here. If I top deck a land, I play this thing next turn. And if they attack with Scrap Trawler, even if I don't top deck a land, I can just unearth the Onulet and attack for lethal. If they don't attack with Scrap Trawler, I can unearth the Onulet. They block the Onulet, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we hit the land, so we just play this. Again, I'm pretty much 100% certain we would have won without Portal here. We could have had a really good Unearth that forced them to trade their creature into our Unearthed card, and they'd still be down to 2 life. We really didn't need the Portal there, but when you get it, might as well drop it down, make it just monumentally unlikely that your opponent gets out of it. So we are 2-1, solid record in this traditional draft. Bad beats round 2, some tough games there, unfortunately for us. I think there was a rough mulligan somewhere there, and then just some poor draws overall. I think it was a winnable matchup if we maybe played a little better, maybe got a little luckier, but 2-1, still a solid run. We are going to get 1,000 gems and 3 packs out of this event. It's a pretty fun deck to play around with. Again, I don't think it was perfect. The most fun versions of these decks have like 3 Stalwarts, 2 Refractors, and more unearthing good stuff like combat couriers and scrapwork, ragers, scrapwork cohorts being the really, really big one, the one that spits out 1/1s as you're doing it. So we didn't have so much of that unearth kind of stuff, more just basic big green ramp value of prowlers to make sure we keep hitting land drops and curve into Baloths and pallbearers and boulder branch golems. So overall, pretty sweet deck. Had a lot of fun. Portal to Phyrexia definitely single-handedly won round 1. But was a little too slow in some of those games round 2, which was unfortunate. And then in game 3, we basically didn't use it. I mean, I technically used it in the final game, but we basically just won regular games of Magic there. So fun deck, did some cool stuff, got some decent prizes. Not a bad day of drafts at all. But that is going to end today's video. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to let the YouTube algorithm know to send you more in your recommended feeds. You can hang out with me live on the Twitch channel in the link in the description below if you're interested in that. And you can also support the channel directly at the Patreon link in the description below. That all out of the way, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.